Welcome to Buckle on the Boots 2025. I'm Dom from Country Chat with Dom, joined by the amazing Regan from Wannabe Country. We're here on collaboration with Live in the Living Room, and we're joined by the amazing couple from Glimtvis. We've got Ricky and Rasmus with us. Absolutely amazing to have you with us.
Thank you for having us.
We've been watching the Writers Round thing with Blue Foley and Craig Wayne Boyd, and it's just been an amazing show so far. It's been an amazing festival. How have you guys found it?
Actually, we were a part of Nashville Nights in Denmark and met Blue Foley and met Gary Quinn as well. Yeah. And we had our album release at the start of Nashville Nights last year, and we met Gary in the evening. He was kind of drunk, I must say. He said a lot of things in his accent, and we didn't really understand what he was saying, but we got one thing, and that is that he said, "Great album." and then he wrote us or we wrote him, and he wrote us back that we could come play here. So it's just amazing. It's amazing to be here. Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you just remind everybody on the show when we're playing, what kind of timings we're at for the weekend?
Yeah. We're playing tomorrow at the main stage, and that's at 3:20 p.m. And then we're playing Sunday at the paddock stage, and that's at...
I think it's 4:10.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And maybe in the end show as well. Somebody just asked us if we would do stuff there.
We're so excited. We feel so blessed being invited here and get to play as much as we are. It's amazing.
You can't go wrong with extra shows, extra performances.
Get
yourselves out there.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like being a footballer sitting on the bench going, "Come on, coach, put me in." So I want to play as many minutes as possible each game. So that's like what it is for us.
Yeah.
That's perfect. No, so the thing I really want to pick your brain about is over here in the UK, it was a bit of a shock to myself when, Danish and country, like that kind of mix. It's not something you would really think of. No. So I guess what my question is, where did your love for country music start, and what made you decide country is for us?
Well, we kind of stumbled upon it, actually, and it's a couple of different, occasions. First of all, the first song we ever wrote together, Ricky and I, came about to be a country ballad. It's called Tired and Tipsy. And we wrote this sentence down, worn out, tired and tipsy, and we were like, hey, that's a country song. So we wrote that and thought, hey, we can write songs together. So that was one thing. But also we started playing with this country artist in Denmark. So then we started being into the whole country thing. But actually, when we're writing songs, we're just writing songs, but somehow we've just become part of this country family, and they're letting us in, and they're keeping on inviting us to these things, and we're just really happy about it.
I don't think we think ourselves as particularly country. Yeah. We're just kind of in the country family now with all these guys, and when we play shows like this, we may be a little more country than we normally sound.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's something you fall in love with. It's like, we have a saying here on Live in the Living Room, that country family, we stick together. Everyone you'll never find someone who will come up to you and have a bad energy or aura, because we all love the same thing, which is country music.
Exactly.
And obviously from what I've learned, what is interesting about your music, which I've read, is that you talk about the stuff that people don't really talk about. So your songs, they're about trying to find that one person, divorce and stuff like that. So I guess my main thought of how I want to get it out of you is, what made you decide we need to do something that others aren't?
Again, I think we kind of stumbled upon it because we wrote that first song, Tired and Tipsy, and then we just, let's write something more. And I think because we started out pretty late writing songs together, we both in our 40s. Actually, I just turned 50. Yes, I did. and
not a day over 25.
So the things that popped up are kind of like all the stuff in our own life. And I mean, we talked about as well that there's not that many songs for people our age. The stuff that we don't talk about. I mean, the divorce, the things we don't talk about on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. And it kind of we accidentally stumbled upon those subjects because that's what is in our lives. Yeah. I mean, all the things that we are talking about and thinking about, and when we look at other people and think they're adults, why are we not that?
Why can't we work out all those things that you need to work out as adults?
Yeah, it's crazy because when you think of music, particularly country music, I know the cliche of it is it's always talking about trucks, it's always talking about drinking whiskey and meeting girls at bars and whatnot. And that's predominantly. I know a lot of the older generation, I'm going to say it, do that. But not as obviously as much as the younger generation. I mean, I'm 33, and the idea of me going out clubbing is just I hate the idea of that now. This is probably the extent of where I'll go.
Cramped spaces and stuff like that. Let's stick to our beers, drugs, and whiskey. Let's live it.
Yeah.
I think we write songs about the same things that other artists write songs about. It just has a different perspective when you're our age. I mean, we wrote a song about dating apps and going on first dates. It just has another ring to it because it's about divorce and when do you have your kids and I don't like your hair color and all those things that doesn't happen when you're 22 or when you're 19. So it's maybe it's the same subjects, but
the goal is ultimately the same. You want to hook up.
Yeah.
But the way there can be quite different because, as Ricky says, like the first date, even maybe before the first date, you're checking all these practical things, trying to consider, is it worth the time of, the time investment to even meet up? And we're like,
would be nice just to talk about our favorite album or something.
Have a gin and tonic, have a dance, see if there's any chemistry before we reach the, how is your divorce conversation, and that's what. Yeah,
that's some of the things that pops up.
Yeah.
Well, that gives a lovely kind of segue then. So, talking about your favourite albums, let's talk about your new one, The Nashville Confessions.
Yes.
So, for the people that don't know, it is an album that's been written by 12 different songwriters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, well, including us, 14,
yeah,
but yes, with 12
with 12 others outside.
Yeah.
So, as much as the organisation of getting that all sorted, it must have been crazy, but give us a little deep dive into what gave you the idea for this album and getting different perspectives.
Well, the idea came from the songwriters, actually, because we were playing the Nashville Nights Festival in Denmark, both the spring tour and the festival in 23. And these wonderful songwriters were really open talking to us, and they kept saying this line, going like, so if you guys ever come to Nashville, we should write some songs. And both Blue Foley and this wonderful woman called Kinsey Rose, they were like, hey, and you can just stay at my place. I got a spare room and everything. And we were like, if you guys ever come to Nashville, it's not like
Nashville, right?
it's a pretty far detour. But after the festival, we were like, well, maybe we should just buy a couple of plane tickets and then see who's actually up for it. So at the festival, we're like, so do you really mean that if we actually came to Nashville, say like in February, you would want to ride with us? And I was like, shit, yeah. So we bought a couple of plane tickets and started writing them. But then we wrote, Blue Foley said, hey, guess what, brother, we're coming. And he was like, we should get on a video call.
Yeah. You want to do an album.
Yeah, and then we started, and he was like, so if you want to make the most of the trip, you want to do an album, you want to write an album, so you got to have an arc, you got to have at least 15 ideas for songs, because then you'll get the best ideas from these songwriters. So he was an invaluable help
mentor for us
in making this trip happen.
I mean, watching Blue Foley this morning on the Moho sessions was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I described him to Linda from Voice of a Woman as almost like a father figure. Even when we was doing the writers, the questions from the fans, he'd take charge of the whole kind of like line and say, so we'll start at this end, and then they kind of like help him, you know, along and pulls it. He does.
He did that with us as well. I mean, we set the whole thing up ourselves, but he was like, okay, so you want to present these ideas to this guy and these ideas to this guy. He was such a tremendous help for getting the whole thing together. And we had no idea that all of these songwriters would just say yes when we asked them, okay, we're coming in February. Do you want to write? And then we had 8 right on our list when we started out, and everybody said yes. And then when we got home, we had been writing with 12 writers because some others came too, and Blue arranged like a camp in Kentucky, and it was so amazing.
With Noah Smith from Ohio.
Now, one of our friends here at Live in the Living Room, who owns her own show, she is such a massive advocate for country music, is Linda Conway from Voice of a Woman. She runs the Moho sessions that I mentioned a second ago, and she's just entered
the room.
the bus.
Do you want to come?
And I think she should join us right now.
I will.
Right in the centre here.
Come on, Linda, and you get. It's like royalty. I'll squeeze over. You can squeeze in there.
So,
But welcome, Linda. Welcome.
everybody, Linda Conway from Voice of a Woman. So, is there anything you'd like to ask Glimtvis, Linda?
Oh my goodness. Oh,
You just
putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
You're on the
Like
spot
you put
now.
your
Oh,
audience
that
on
I
the
have
spot,
I have an
huh?
actual mic. I have an actual microphone. I suppose my kind of question, because obviously, like this morning, the Moho session was all about just celebrating the best of country music,
Yeah.
celebrating what makes artists want to be in the country music scene, want to choose that. So I suppose my question to you is, what made you fall in love with country so much so that that's where you felt you genre was, where you felt that's where you were placed and where you belong in the musical world?
Okay, so I think a couple of things. As we already said, it feels like a family, and it feels like everyone we meet in this country family is so generous. Not only the audience, which we are really thankful for, but also, like we said, all of the writers from Nashville, Gary Quinn, everybody, they're so generous, inviting us in, sharing their network, sharing their festivals, sharing their audience, sharing their song ideas. Everything is just really, it's an amazing family to be a part of. But also, like, the country genre is very honest.
Yeah.
and
You just tell it like it is, right?
it's a genre that makes grown men cry.
Yeah.
You know,
I get
and I think that's what we fell in love with. Not because we have a perverted love of crying, but but the thing that it's a safe place to share all your insecurities, all your.
You can just be you and write songs that is just not. You just tell it like it is. It's kind of face to face. The country lyrics are kind of face to face, and we even think that our Danish way of writing country is a little. They told us when we were in Nashville, oh, you're going Scandinavian noir on us now, because we didn't say things just like it was. But I like the face to face thing, and actually I've been in love with country music my whole life, but it has been like you didn't say it out loud in Denmark because it was not cool to like country music.
Yeah, that was the same in the UK. That.
It's truck
the same,
drivers and line dancers, you know.
Yeah.
And I
It's
like
like it
truck
wasn't-
drivers and line dancers. No,
But this kind of country Americana roots scene is like flowing in Denmark now. It's growing so
it's a
much, and
growing genre.
it is it's so cool to be a part of that movement. I would call it.
So when you're performing, say, around Denmark, is there now like set places that you go to, or like almost like a mecca, shall I say, of places? So like Nashville is our area that in America that everybody wants to go to. Here we're at Buckle and Boots, which is deemed as a mecca as well. You know, is there anywhere in Denmark that you guys would say was very similar to that?
It is absolutely Nashville nights.
yeah.
In Odense, in the middle of Denmark, is like the most. It reminds me of this, and it reminds me of what you were saying, but also the Tønder Festival, if you know that. That's more folkish.
Yeah.
But it has
it has
that Americana roots movement as well there, and that's like a really big festival. And we're playing there this summer. Look at us.
But also there are some minor or smaller festivals also, like Back to the Roots Festival in January and
Farm
Festival
There are small
in June.
venues growing to be bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
It's always good to play those smaller venues because you can build more of a fan base and an audience, and you'll start seeing those more regular faces. In Denmark, you may have it. You may have people you see. I saw you at this festival the other week. I saw you there. I think small venues are so important for music as a whole, for artists, to get that backing.
And the country and Americana fans are really, what do you call that?
Attentive?
Yeah, attentive, but also like dedicated.
Yeah.
If we meet them at this small festival and they like what they see, they'll follow us around and come to every show.
Yeah, they're invested in you then.
Absolutely.
As well.
We have a small group of audience that are just coming to everything, and we just love it. We're like, oh wow, look at those. They were there the last time, and these people also become friends.
But that's also partly, I think, because that like, you know, the Buckle and Boots Festival, the Nashville Night Festival, there's not this magical, mystique backstage area where all the artists are hiding. They come out and talk to the audience. You know, they are available to the audience on a completely different level than your normal festivals. And I think that's really a big part of, you know, this whole community thing that we experience in the country community, both in Denmark and also here at Buckle and Boots.
I think that's what's really good about Buckle and Boots is a case of, like, you know, we see artists all the time roaming around, meeting the fans. Like, as you've mentioned, you know, if you go to, for example, like C2C or something like that, as you said, they're all hidden away. So it gives us as fans that opportunity to go, you know, I listen to you, like, as much as, you know, they don't want to make you feel big-headed going, you know, I love you, this kind of thing, but for people, I imagine it just gives you that feeling of achievement in a sense of, like, wow, you listen to our music, that's so great.
And actually, when you get booked for this festival, they encourage you to stay here the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So even though at first we were only playing Sunday, now we're only playing Saturday and Sunday, but they said, okay, come, stay here the whole weekend, talk to people, be a part of the networking, and go write a song with somebody, and I love that.
I think everyone needs everybody. Like, you artists need the audience, and the audience needs your music.
Absolutely.
And it's like Emma Zink said this morning when, like, she won the contest of Country Idol, and her prize was to support Dierks Bentley, but then that fell through. Yeah. And then she went to Twitter, and the support that she had. So it's like, it's a two-way magical relationship in a lot of ways that we all need each other, basically, in a kind of way. Do you know? It's just an amazing thing.
It really is. And I mean, I went to Alexander K concert with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. This venue in Aarhus where I'm from, and after playing like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, she came down and she took all the time she needed to talk to every fan who wanted to talk to her. Have picture taken, sign merchandise, everything. And I mean, it's not that I don't see other artists doing that, but doing that for such a long time, you know, it took quite a while to get everyone through. But she was still smiling, she was still there, she was still talking to the very last one, which was me. But
it's going to be me next Thursday because we're off down to London, me and
that's the
Sarah.
thing you remember afterwards, right? Going to a concert where the artist is like that.
Yeah.
He wants to talk to you, and so maybe you've seen like a really great concert, but you remember that moment where you were talking to them.
But see, as well, I was talking to like Lucy Silvis, and it's like when you're starting out, but then when you get bigger and bigger, like to the kind of the Lainey Wilson, the Ashley McBride kind of thing, like people still feel connected, but can't feel as connected because there's security and there's those kind of things that you obviously have to be aware of as an artist when you're that stature.
When you get that big,
and Lucy Silva said the bigger you are, the less connected to the fans you are because you're not amongst them. Do you know what I mean? And it's, you know, so it's a kind of.
And of course, that's a natural part of it. You know, you can't be connected to 20,000 people in the same way if you're playing for 250. You know, that's a natural part of it. But I think from what I've experienced is that the way that Lady Wilson or Ashley McBride goes about it is they still come back to these small places and show up and play a few songs.
The roots, it's the beginning.
Like that. They keep going back. I mean, and you don't see a lot of, you know, great rock and roll artists going to the small places. They stick to the stadiums once they get to that place. And I think again, that's a beautiful part of it. You know, stick to your roots.
Yeah. I mean, if there's 20,000 people and you know the 500 of them because they've been following you all along, I mean, that is nice to like recognize people in the crowd still. If there's so many people.
So one of my last few questions is, a lot of artists have these kind of like fan groups, as you say, these 500 people that follow you around. Does your like fan groups have a special name for themselves, or because a lot of like artists and stuff have like the Dreamers, or is there anything, the Franz Club for Louise Parker? Is there anything that you guys have?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We hope that maybe some of them will see this and make up a name.
Yeah. So there's an open name our fan base contest.
Maybe we should make a competition.
Ooh.
Yeah, we should.
Hashtag name our fan base.
Yeah.
Let's get like that.
Let's get it
Not
going.
bad.
We got a hashtag
Yeah.
going here.
There we go.
Hashtag name
You
your
heard it
fan
here
I'm
first.
I'm
Exclusive.
47
Over to you.
and I have a hashtag going. You can do what you want. Just
My final question is, those curls, I mean, Rasmus, they are luscious. I mean, absolutely incredible. What hair products do you use for that?
Sweat and beer.
Danish.
I use sweat and beer, honey. And stay away from shampoo. No, I use shampoo and conditioner. And well, this is going to be like a commercial because I have this one product, Curl Cream, from ID Hair. It's a Danish product, and I use that. And I almost panicked because they used to have a different product, and it went out of production. So I just wrote the company, "What the hell are you doing?" No, we have another one coming. So where can I buy it? Just the hair, people, the hair.
They could sponsor you now.
Yeah.
Sponsor you.
Yeah,
Sponsor.
it should- it
Hashtag.
should-
Hashtag.
yeah.
Hashtag.
So.
ID hair.
But guys, that is everything from me. Linda, Regan, is there anything you want?
I have one final question I want to pick your brains at. So, we all know in this industry, and if you can spell, you can't spell country without try. So where do you want to try and get to in country music?
Oh, wow, that's a very good question.
That deserves a high five.
I think for us, people have asked us, so what is your goal with this Glimtvis thing that you've created? And for us, it's kind of a cliche. The goal is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Our goal is just to get out and play our music for as many people as possible. But what are our goals? There are some stages that we would like to play, and there is a small festival just off the west coast of Denmark called Fanø Vesterland. And Jesper, if you're listening, there's a stage called the Dream Tent, Drømmeteltet.
It's not that big, but it's just
so
wonderful.
beautiful.
It's beautiful, and we would just love to play there.
And
Dream come true.
and even though, of course, we would like to play the Grand Ole Opry, we are somewhat realistic. So be able to play the Bluebird or the Listening Room or some of those places,
Sounds like a dream.
For us, that is actually one of the on the bucket list where we think that might actually be achievable. But yeah.
We're very aware that we don't have to set like a goal, and if we don't get there, we haven't succeeded, because we're just enjoying being in the middle of all of this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Just
kind
enjoying
of a
the
little
moment,
bit
aren't you?
because of
really.
our age, but I mean, we just have to enjoy it while we're in the middle of this beautiful wood in close to Manchester, and while we're sitting in the basement in Nashville writing songs with Blue Foley, and
It's a beautiful sight. This place.
Just doing
Beautiful.
it. It's
just
the
doing
dream.
it at the dream. Yeah.
For those that obviously aren't here at the festival, they can't witness your music live.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
You can find us on every streaming portal in the world, Glimtvis, and you can find us on Facebook. It's just called Glimtvis, and on Instagram, glimtvis.music. So we're not on TikTok. We're not that good of a dancer.
And if you want us to come out and play, you just write us.
Yeah.
We're not that far away.
Yeah.
Hashtag not that far away.
Hashtag not that far away.
You're going to be busy hashtagging.
Yeah,
we
we are.
need
Apparently
like a
so.
whole.
Hashtag follow them now.
Yeah.
Hashtag sign.
Hashtag Glimtvis.
Yeah.
Hashtag Boglandus.
Linda,
Hashtag
do you have any
Boglandus.
final questions for Glimtvis?
I think we've picked their brain.
I think they've been picked.
Thank you so
enough
much.
that my brain's gone now.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Rasmus. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
Been picked enough. I don't know.
Thank you,
all
everybody, for
questioned
tuning
out.
into Live in the Living Room. It's been an absolute blast so far. We're there, Glimtvis here as well. And thank you to Linda for joining in. I'm Don from Country Chat with Don. We've got Regan here from Wannabe Cowboy. I'll see you all next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.